marketing intelligence. It's intelligence derived from marketing data, which I'm going to talk about today. So that was the whole plug for MiQ. There's like 7 of us here. We're pretty sociable, especially later in the day. So find us at the events, and we'll tell you all about MiQ if you want to listen. So in a rare departure from what we usually do, we wanted to not talk about just our company, but talk about a couple myths inside the industry. So the first major myth I wanted to discuss was presenting with a mustache is embarrassing. That is definitely true. It's very, very embarrassing. My wife actually was questioning whether I should come or not with this, but it is for a good cause, so I'm sorry if I look creepy. But yeah, it's for raising cancer awareness in men. So that's the first myth in programmatic we wanted to bust. On to a more serious note, when we were doing the preparation for this content, it came up in a meeting to ask the question, like, probably no one there is actually buying programmatic advertising. So we wanted to just put this myth out there and see a quick show of hands if you are buying or have bought programmatic advertising in the last year. Okay. All right, wow. That's way more than I thought. It turns out I was wrong, and marketing was right, as usual. So that was the first thing we want to talk about. But one of the main things that we hear a lot from D2Cs is this misnomer that programmatic actually just means display. We hear it all the time. People are like, oh, banner advertising doesn't work. Oh, you guys are the annoying guys on the New York Times. All of these different things. And I think it's one of the biggest misnomers in our industry that programmatic just means display advertising. Because in fact, like, programmatic advertising is just a methodology for buying ads. It's a way to use the programmable intelligence of computers to make automated decisions. I learned that at a technical offsite. And really, it's expanding to every channel and everything that we do. And it's not just the complicated jargon. Essentially, it's using computers to buy ads in the most effective way for your brand. And it's actually the most customizable way to buy media in anybody's mix. You can't buy television this way. You can somewhat buy social in this way, and we're going to talk about some of those things. So why do a lot of the brands we work with use programmatic? It's pretty simple. For those of you that buy this, you would know this. It's efficient. It's basically taken away the traditional like media buyer and media seller. It's helped us grow the internet advertising industry faster than the internet has grown itself. So we can handle more and more volume of content, more and more volume of ads than we did previously. And then unparalleled reach and targeting, which I'm going to get into more. And then this is the one big thing that I talk to about with all of our clients. It's like everybody thinks that programmatic is just in bits and spurts, like fits and spurts all around the industry. But it's pretty much any connected screen, speaker, out-of-home ad, anything that's connected to the internet can be bought programmatically. And I think that's a really interesting way to think about the industry, because when you think, oh, I'm just going to buy this one channel, or the trade desk, why are they so valuable? It's because they're everywhere. Like, the companies that are operating in this space can put your ads in front of anyone almost anytime. So then the second myth, or I guess third myth we wanted to talk about, was walled gardens offer better targeting for advertising. I used to work at an FMP, which is like a big Facebook provider, and I think walled gardens are exceptional. I think almost every D2C needs to have a walled garden strategy. So your Facebook strategy, your Twitter strategy, things like that. These are incredible platforms for targeting audiences, but they're not necessarily always better for targeting, and I know that's a little bit controversial. So like, our truth is that when you integrate things with programmatic, it can be really effective as well. This can be like real world data signals. This can be things like the weather, the temporal trends, et cetera. A lot of times inside these walled gardens, they're the ones controlling which data goes into making the audiences you want to target. And Facebook decides what a consumer of X looks like, or what a Y interest looks like. With programmatic, it's up to you guys and the partners that you choose to bring data in to make that, your decision on how much each user is worth. And what we found is that it doesn't have to be limited just to online data. You can bring in real world data. A good example is you can bring in sports scores and weather. And what we see when we do things like that is we see really increased performance because of the scale of advertising and the ability to program that advertising. Okay, this is the one we deal with the most. Programmatic advertising doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes Facebook doesn't work. Sometimes TV doesn't work. But most of the times, programmatic does work. And the truth is that the hearts and wallets of people like you guys do say it works. When you look at what marketers say about all the different channels, if you look at programmatic, I think that's over 74% or 73% of marketers say it's effective. But what's really cool about this slide is that a lot of people we talk to don't realize, like, Facebook is bought programmatically. Mobile is bought programmatically via DSPs. So is OTT. And linear and radio are actually moving to programmatic. So, like, the way that you guys set up your programmatic infrastructure right now and the partners you choose is going to be the way you buy inventory in the future. Like, are you working with partners that are customizing towards your business outcomes? Are you doing things that future-proof your business and your marketing stack? And a lot of you guys say it is effective, and that FSE is only going to increase as more channels come into programmatic. Programmatic only delivers vanity metrics. This is the best picture I could find. Sorry. I was hoping he had a mustache, but it was a full beard. The truth is, programmatic delivers what you tell it to. A lot of times, especially with smaller brands, and a lot of times with D2C brands, they come to us and they say, hey, we talked to the trade desk, we talked to Google, and they just want us to use the media metrics. Like, I don't care about media metrics. I care about these types of things. I care about how many people walk into my store. I care about how many people buy my beard oil. Eric, good seeing you again. I care about incremental lift. I care about how many pizzas I can deliver within 2 hours in the Detroit market if the Tigers hit a home run. Like, that's the only thing it's like all of these metrics are so unique to you that if you tell programmatic to deliver that, it's what it's going to deliver. It's all about outcomes to your brand. And that's pretty unique because a lot of other platforms are designed to deliver media metrics. Like when Facebook asks you what you want to hit, it's reach, or maybe it's a conversion, whatever that means. But you guys don't get paid on those numbers. You guys get paid on things like this, and that's where programmatic really does add a lot of value. So I'm going to do something a little risky, and the marketing team wasn't really thrilled when I told them, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I think we're going to switch over, and I'm going to do a live demo of what a custom algorithm looks like for some of the bigger brands we do. If we can click through the first one, I'm going to have to say click a bunch, guys. So a way a custom algorithm works and how you can design things for outcomes is, this is Sarah. Sarah is searching for, just on the web, searching for whatever Sarah's looking for. And we know a little bit about her. So we know she's a female. You can click. We know she's a female. We know that she has travel intent. So it's going to allow us to increase the bids that we have, right? So that's a really simple version of how a very simple algorithm works. But if we go to a more complex version, this is where things start to get interesting, especially as you think about doing this across any screen. First of all, a lot of these companies a lot of your companies will grow internationally, or you have multiple markets, and you want to be able to analyze users, right? And you want to be able to change how much you pay for media based on its utility. But what's interesting is you can also incorporate like real world things that are happening. So if we click, we can see that it's warm and sunny. So Sarah is looking for, in this case, Reckitt Benckiser products. And she would be served or would be looking at ads for, okay, it's warm and sunny where she is. I know when it's warm and sunny where I am, my wife looks for hair removal products in CVS. I know because usually I'm the one that goes to CVS and buys them, so it's always a fun little experience for me. And then we look at more context. So if we click one more time, we'd be able to look at like, where is Sarah right now? Okay, she's within 500 meters of a CVS. We want to show her a coupon so that she can get a discount at CVS. So and we would bid higher for her because she's in the moment that she wants to purchase. Now, if we click and we go back to that whole same process and we see, okay, she's not near a drugstore. So if we click one more time, we're going to show her the similar creative, but we're going to put an Amazon link in there. And the reason why we do that, and the reason why I use this as an example, is a lot of times when you're dealing with media platforms, they wouldn't care about this last step. Like, all they want is your money for the media. They don't care that Sarah's close to a store or not close to a store, so that we do. So because she's not close to a store, we want to drive her to Amazon and move your guys' products through whichever channel makes the most sense. And a lot of times that gets lost because that's really what matters. Like these incremental changes in your guys' media mix is really what matters to your business. And then if we can click again. So we're gonna go through this one more time, but this time it's gonna be click. It's gonna be cold and wet outside. And a lot of you guys have varying products, whether I'm big Ministry of Supply guy, so I don't know if anyone's here from Ministry of Supply. They're a big D2C. It's going to be if you want to show a shirt or a sweater. In this case, it's like, okay, it's cold and wet, and the cough and cold index is really high in Sarah City, so we want to show a dynamic creative that would like be from Mucinex. And this level of detail is not hard to create for brands, but a lot of people don't take the time to do it for programmatic. And it's solutions like this that really make our most successful partners thrive inside programmatic, and it's something that we just think makes a lot of sense to show at events like this. So sorry for marketing if I mess that up. So we can go back to the deck, Ryan. So this is the back end of that. This is a custom algorithm. I just put that up there because one time someone had it up on their screen at the office, and I was like, what is that? That looks so cool. So I wanted to make sure that that got put in there, but that's the exact algorithm that we just looked at for Reckitt. Sorry, this one is for ticket bookers for an airline. If we can go to the next, I got it from here, Ryan, sorry. So there's another myth that once you get that right, that's the value of programmatic. It's like, okay, yeah, programmatic works for me. I'm done buying programmatic. Okay, perfect. Like I'm just gonna keep buying what I buy. I don't wanna change. I know ESPN works. I know New York Times works. I know these mobile in-app inventory providers work. But really the most successful brands are the ones who like look beyond just the ad impression, and they start accruing all the data from every ad call that happens. So on every ad impression that's served through a DSP, all of this information is available either through partners. It's actually a little bit scary when you think about all this information and all the things that you can collect on users and you can store. At this point, it's important to say that MiQ is GDPR compliant. We're totally CCPA ready, and all of this happens in a legal and compliant way. So it's not just about the acquisition of impressions, and it's not just about the ads and the performance that you want to get. It's also about all the data that flows off the back of it. And most successful partners, and the truth is, like, this is the real value in programmatic. Because if you start to aggregate all of this data, you can start to know things about your consumers that inform your entire marketing channel. These are the types of stats that come off like a day's worth of impressions. We're able to tell people like these are actually your market segments and things like that. Okay, I'm getting close on time, I think. So here's a couple more. Next one, programmatic is dangerous for brands. Reality is, it is a little bit dangerous. Like if you don't have the right safety measures in place, programmatic could be a bad place to see your ads. But if you do have the right safety measures in place, it's a fantastic place to spend your money. And we do that through, not just us, I'm sorry it says MiQ because it feels sales pitchy, but any provider or reputable provider in our space will provide pre-bid. So that means before you even enter an auction, there are safety measures to make sure that your brand doesn't run on questionable content. The second piece is whitelist and blacklist. You don't want to run on things that have specific URLs. You do want to run on specific URLs, et cetera. How do you control that? That's the next step. Then there's pre-bid, dynamic pre-bid from providers like IAS or whoever your safety providers are. We think most of those companies in the space are doing an awesome job. And then the last thing is post-bid, looking at things like firewall, which is important for really technical operations and things from there. And that leaves you with the highest quality, high-performing impressions left. So again, myth, programmatic can be dangerous. That's actually true if you don't do it correctly, but you have control over that safety. This is my last one, and then I'm going to do a couple questions. Myth, the tree on the South Carolina state flag is a palm tree. I'm from South Carolina. I grew up in Spartanburg, so I saw a fist pump over there. We must have another South Carolinian in here, or a wind snapper, as they're called, I believe. So it's actually a palmetto tree, and it saved us from the British Army. In the U.S., there's a fort close to here called Fort Moultrie. It was going to be blown up by the British, but we made it out of palmetto trees, and the cannonballs got stuck instead of erupting the fort. And it helped the U.S. get their Navy and Army in order for a couple of years. So myth, that's a palm tree. It's a really cool flag, has a really cool history. For some reason, I love history, and I've got a lot of things to say about this, so find me later. I wanted to leave time, if there is time, for any questions about programmatic or why we decided to do it this way. Are there questions?
There is. Hold on one sec. So as we go through the next couple of days here, if you don't mind, let us know when you ask questions, let us know who you are and what company you're from. Adam, I know you.
Hi, Adam from AdWallet. One, I did a state report on South Carolina, so I knew the palmetto tree answer, which I was excited about.
Thank you, Adam.
More importantly, one of your slides talked about being CCPA, or GDPR compliant, CCPA ready, using all of that data. I was wondering if you could unpackage a little of that. I know there's a lot of concerns from clients in the programmatic space. Not that the data isn't available, but that it can still be targeted at scale through, for CCPA.
Yeah. So a little history about MiQ. We're a British company. We were founded in London, and the UK government was probably one of our biggest clients for a number of years. So we had to be GDPR compliant. We were running like recruiting campaigns for MI6. So obviously we had to be in regulation with British law. So the way we did that is we built a proprietary tool called data masking, which allows us to strip any PII. That's the first step, is getting any PII out of there, hash all the data, et cetera. The second thing is looking at really what matters. A lot of times people think audience is more important than context. So we started about 4 years ago running experiments, looking at more context-heavy strategies and eliminating the things that are non-compliant from privacy law, both in the US and in the UK. And what we found is, like, with the right data science applied, context is actually a stronger like sort of metric to look at for performance. And that's actually how we got to incremental data sources and like looking at things like weather and not just what's happening on the device. When you think about privacy legislation, it's a lot about what's happening on your device and who you are electronically, but it's not talking about what's happening outside the device. So what's the weather where you are, what's around you, where did you go to and from? That starts to get a little questionable in terms of privacy. But it's really about looking at other strategies other than just audience. The other thing we did that was really helpful for us is we hired a compliance team. They sit in Chicago with us now. And that compliance team looks at all the legislation. So there's now 9 states coming up with privacy concerns and laws. And that like local legislation in the US is a big issue, because if someone lives in Colorado and they go to California and you target them with the wrong kind of ad using the wrong kind of data, then you're technically liable. So we had to hire smarter people than me to handle that. So yeah, they're going to be sitting in a corner. We have their own corner. But yeah, those are a couple things we did to get ready. Cool. Any other questions? We good on time?
You have a team you mentioned here.
Yeah. Sorry. This is the MiQ team. Can the MiQ team just put their hands up? We have an oyster roast tonight. The buses leave at 6. We're veterans of these events, so try to get there at 5:15. Just kidding. A lot of times.
Don't do that.
Yeah, no, just kidding. Just be there at 6. We're pretty relaxed, like I said. If anyone on the team, including myself, hard pitches you guys, just give us a stiff arm and say, the guy on stage said you weren't going to do that. So yeah, thanks for listening, and enjoy the breakfast and the rest of the content.
Charlie, thanks guys. Thanks so much, guys.